Hello and welcome to a special post-selection webinar for 2018-2019 Belgian, Luxembourgish, and European Fulbright grantees. In this webinar, which is being distributed to grantees for the first time this year, we'll talk briefly about the Fulbright program, the application and grant timeline, the visa application overview, and answer a few frequently asked questions that we tend to get from grantees during this step in the process. The Fulbright program is named after Senator J. William Fulbright, who in 1945 proposed a program that would, in his words, bring a little more knowledge, a little more reason, and a little more compassion into world affairs by using surplus war property to fund educational exchanges. The program was signed into law by President Truman the following year. Here in Belgium and Luxembourg, which were among the first countries to sign binational agreements with the United States, the first Fulbright exchanges occurred in 1948. Several decades later, in 1990, the Fulbright Commission in Brussels became the home for another program, the Fulbright-Schuman Program, co-funded by the European Commission and focused on US-EU affairs. Since 1946, the goals of the Fulbright program have remained consistent. They include cultural exchange, development on the academic, leadership, personal, and professional level, and the promotion of mutual understanding between the people of the United States and other countries. One quick administrative note. You'll often hear us refer to our grantees as either scholars or students. This is a primarily administrative difference. The scholar category includes professors and mid-career professionals, as well as postdoctoral researchers. Their grants are administered in the United States by CIES and in Belgium by Marijke Hendricks. The student category includes both degree-seeking students and visiting student researchers in the Fulbright Foreign Student Program and Fulbright Foreign Language Teaching Assistants. Their grants are administered in the United States by IIE and in Belgium by Elizabeth Bloxham. However, it is appropriate for all grantees to refer to themselves colloquially as Fulbright grantees, Fulbrighters, or Fulbright scholars. The foreign Fulbright grantee timeline begins in September, when applicants first begin preparing their applications. After the December 1st deadline, files undergo a technical review by the staff of the Fulbright Commission and are sent to the members of the review panel. Review panelists evaluate the files based on a number of criteria, including academic excellence and ambassadorial potential, and top-ranked applicants are invited to interview with the selections committee. The Fulbright Commission takes into account the feedback of the selections committee, as well as that of the review panel, and top-ranked applicants are nominated to the Fulbright Commission's Board of Directors in Brussels and to the Foreign Fulbright Scholarship Board in Washington, D.C. This process, though it can move quickly, can also be delayed and can take up to a month depending on the availability of the board and the Foreign Fulbright Scholarship Board. After being confirmed by all parties, the Fulbright Commission staff begins the visa document collection process in coordination with IIE and CIES, which usually lasts throughout March and April. Lastly, grantees apply for their visas after having received the necessary documentation from IIE and CIES via the Fulbright Commission in Brussels. This usually occurs in late June or July for grantees departing in the autumn, and later in the year for those with later departure dates in late autumn or the spring semester. After a candidate has been tentatively selected, he or she receives a notification of nomination. This slightly cryptic email informs candidates that they have been nominated for a Fulbright grant, but that their selection is pending the approval of the Foreign Fulbright Scholarship Board, a process which ideally takes no more than 2 to 3 weeks. After a candidate has been confirmed by the Fulbright Foreign Scholarship Board, he or she is officially selected as a Fulbright grantee and must typically begin the visa document collection process. All Fulbright grantees must travel to the United States on a J-1 visa, and this visa is arranged by IIE and CIES, not the host institution. In their first email requesting documents for your visa, Fulbright program officers will likely ask for all of the following materials, including a letter of acceptance or affiliation from the grantee's host institution. This letter must be on the official letterhead of the host institution, must contain exact start and end dates, as these will be used for the creation of the visa, and must state the objective of your stay. If you're a researcher who's receiving any funding or in-kind benefits from the host institution, they should be listed as well. You will also need to provide a completed medical form, including a negative tuberculosis test. The TB test is a requirement for the issuance of your visa, but please be aware that it will likely take 2 visits and over a week to complete. We'll speak about the tuberculosis test and some other frequently asked questions that we receive about the medical form later in this video. You'll also be required to submit proof of additional funding that you might be receiving during your stay. For example, other fellowships, host institution financial aid, etc. We also ask that you send us a scan of the biographical page of your passport and let us know if you've traveled or will have traveled to the United States within the 12 months prior to the start date listed on your letter of affiliation. If you have, please provide a statement describing the length and purpose of that travel, as well as which visa or visa waiver you traveled under. We'll talk more about J2 visas in just a moment, but if you're planning to bring a dependent, like a spouse or a child, to the United States, please make sure to inform the program officer at this stage. In their second email, Fulbright program officers will come back to you with your Fulbright Terms of Award. This document is based upon the information that you have provided, but you still need to read it and double-check the contents for accuracy, and then return the signed document as a PDF to your program officer. Students will also be asked to sign and return a Terms of Condition document from IIE. At this stage in the process, we may also inform you that proof of additional funding is required. This is often the case for degree-seeking students and/or researchers in expensive cities like Boston and New York City. The sum is based on the cost of living, tuition, and other fees associated with the host institution, as determined by IIE and CIES. Proof of additional funding may come in the form of a document showing that you have received a scholarship or loan, a bank statement from your personal account, or a signed guarantor letter. In this letter, a guarantor, usually a parent, pledges to provide a certain amount of funds for you for a particular detailed purpose. For example, pursuing a master's degree at New York University. The letter must be signed and must be accompanied by a bank statement showing that your guarantor has the necessary funds in the bank. Here you'll find an example of a guarantor letter. This letter is usually written by a grantee's parents and includes pertinent information such as the student's name, relation to the guarantor, and host institution, as well as the amount of money that the guarantor is prepared to provide. The guarantor must also include a bank statement showing that he or she has access to these funds. In order to apply for your J1 visa, you'll need to follow the following steps after receiving your DS 2019. DS 2019s of all Belgian Fulbright grantees will be shipped to the Fulbright Commission in Brussels unless expressly requested otherwise. Once your form has arrived, you will receive an email from your program officer asking you to come pick it up and reminding you to begin the visa appointment process. The Fulbright Commission in Brussels will coordinate with grantees from the Fulbright Luxembourg and Fulbright Schumann programs to establish where your DS 2019 should be shipped. After reviewing the accuracy of this document, you should then make a visa appointment at the local embassy. Don't forget that as a Fulbright grantee, you are exempt from fees. At your visa appointment, bring all the necessary documents, including but not necessarily limited to your original DS 2019, your passport photos, and the proof of financial support that you submitted to the Fulbright Commission. Within 1 week, if all goes well, you'll be able to pick up your passport and visa. For our grantees who will be applying for visas in Belgium, we'll quickly walk through the visa appointment process. But keep in mind that things could change between the date that we're recording this webinar and the date that you apply for your visa. The website of the U.S. Embassy is always going to be the most up-to-date resource. Normally, you should begin this process by visiting the website of the U.S. Embassy in Belgium and navigating to the non-immigrant visa page. Click on the highlighted link to be redirected to the Global Support Services website as instructed. This is the website of the official visa information and appointment system for the Embassy of the United States in Belgium. Click on Apply. Select the first condition. I am a diplomat, other government official, Fulbright scholar, or participant in another U.S. government-sponsored program, and click Continue. You will be redirected to a page entitled Visas for Diplomats, Government Representatives, Embassy Personnel, NATO Personnel, Fulbright Scholars. Scroll down to the bottom of the page. Here you'll see a disclaimer that Fulbright scholars or other U.S. government-sponsored exchange visitor visa applicants and their dependents are not required to pay the visa application processing fees if participants in a Department of State, a U.S. Agency for International Development, or a U.S. government-funded educational and cultural exchange program that has a program serial beginning with G1, G2, G3, or G7 printed on Form DS 2019. This should be the case for you. As you'll see at the bottom of the page, you therefore need to simply email the consular section at brusselsvisa@state.gov. They'll give you instructions about how to proceed. Please keep in mind that these are the instructions for applicants applying through the U.S. Embassy here in Brussels, and while they might be similar for applicants in other countries, it's likely that you'll see some variation in the process. Again, the website of the U.S. Embassy in your country of application is the best source of information for you. The J2 visa is a non-immigrant visa issued by a consular officer for spouses and dependents, that is, unmarried children under the age of 21, of J1 exchange visitors who accompany or later join the J1 holder in the United States. In general, the application procedure is the same as that of a primary visa applicant. The sponsor must approve the accompaniment of the spouse and/or children, who will each be issued their own DS 2019 forms. A J2 visa holder may enter the United States along with their J1 spouse or parent, or join the J1 while participating in their exchange program in the United States. They may study or work while in the United States and may remain in the U.S. as long as the principal J1 visa holder has valid J1 status. Please note that grantees planning to bring dependents must be able to show proof of additional resources to provide for the family members throughout the grant period. Although J2 visa holders can usually seek employment after obtaining an employment authorization document from the Department of Homeland Security, note that money earned by a J2 cannot be used to support the principal J1 visa holder. In other words, it can't be part of your plan to pay for your stay in the U.S. or to pay for your studies. Also, keep in mind that your dependents cannot accompany you to Fulbright events like Gateway Orientation or enrichment seminars. Before finishing up our webinar, we thought we'd respond to a couple of frequently asked questions that we tend to receive from grantees at this point in the process. First up, do I have to have private insurance to fill out the medical form? The short answer is no. Although the medical form asks about private insurance, the medical form does not require you to have private insurance. If you're unsure if you will have private insurance in the US, you can simply leave this part blank and return it in its current state. Remember that all Fulbright grantees to the United States receive ASPE sickness and accident insurance. To learn more about this policy, please visit the website of the Seven Corners program at www.sevencorners.com/gov/USDOS. Another popular question: it's 2018. Do I really have to take a tuberculosis test? The answer is yes. IIE and CIES use the same medical form for Fulbright grantees from around the world, and the TB test is a requirement for the issuance of your visa. Please be aware that it will likely take 2 visits and up to a week to complete. And when filling out the results of a negative tuberculin skin test, please ensure that your doctor physically writes out 0 millimeters. Do I need to submit English translations of my required documents? The answer is maybe, but don't worry. For the vast majority, these are translations that you can do yourself and that can be verified by staff at the Fulbright Commission. This last FAQ is also a popular one. Is my boyfriend or girlfriend eligible for a J2 visa? No. Unmarried or cohabitating partners are not eligible for dependent family visas, and the J2 visa is not a possibility for other extended relatives like parents or siblings. If you are planning to get married between now and your departure date and to bring your new spouse to the United States on a J2 visa, please inform your Fulbright program manager. This is not an uncommon occurrence and can be accommodated with enough advance notice. Thank you for your attention throughout this webinar, which we hope has provided you with some further insight into the Fulbright program and its administration, and given you a better sense of the expectations for your visa document collection procedure. Your program officers will be in touch in the coming weeks as you submit the necessary documents and as we receive more information about your visa, departure date, Fulbright programming like pre-departure orientation and gateway orientations, and we really look forward to working with you over the coming months. Remember that you can always reach out to us either via email or on the phone, and you're welcome to come by our office if you have particular questions. We're located at the 3rd floor of the Royal Library of Belgium in downtown Brussels. We look forward to seeing you soon.